Hi there, this is Niki Rowland for Shimmerz Paints, and today I am making a layout using lots and lots of different products, and I'm going to be applying them to a cut file. So you can see there that I have cut a cut file on my silhouette machine, but I've left my cut file on the mat. I've used marshmallow cardstock so that it doesn't warp. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to apply all the different types of Shimmerz products that I've pulled out that were a good colour match to my papers directly onto the cut file. So I've started off there with some textures pastes, and I'm now using some of the Shimmerz Paints. I'll be moving on to use various Shimmerz Paints and textures and dazzlers, and then I'm going to use some spritzes, vibes, colourings, all of those products. Nothing, I'm not sticking to any one thing here. I just literally pulled out the colours that I thought would go well with the collection that I'm using. So it's great to have a big range of colours, because that gives me lots and lots of scope for matching to papers. I say what you can see here is that I'm now applying using the packaging technique. I'm aiming for like a colour wheel, so I've started off pink, I'm going to go yellow, and then go into the greens as well. I'm mixing some colours together as well if I haven't got exactly the right shade, and I'm just going over and applying. You can see some of those pieces are giving me some problems and coming off the mat, but I can just pop them back into position where I need to, yeah, I wanted to keep it stuck to the mat so it all stayed nicely, and you'll see why. I've done that in a little while. Once it's dry, I'm going to pull each piece off and put it onto a different background, and you'll see how I do that soon. So at the moment I'm still applying the different colours, and they blend so well together. Totally awesome the way the colours match and mix so nicely, and you can see that I'm doing some with the packaging technique, some I'm applying with the spatula, some I'm spraying directly onto the background, and then I'm just filling in some of the gaps with a paintbrush, and basically I'm just ending up with this fabulous looking background. Adding some flicks there, you can see, and I'm going over the different colours with pinks. Where the pinks are, I'm adding some pink flicks, and then over the yellows I'm adding some yellow and some gold flicks, and over the greens and the blues I'm adding some green and blue flicks. Oh, you can see I've got an inkling on the go there, the minor 49er, to add some bits of shimmery gold because I love gold. So I've just compared there with my colours to make sure that everything looked roughly right, looked good compared to the collection I'm using. And now that this is dry, that was I left it for a little while, and now this is dry, I'm now pulling off the top part of the cut file and leaving all of the pieces on the cutting mat. Now they're all coming apart a bit and it's not looking perfect, and some of them stayed in the big piece, but you can see what I've tried to do there. Okay, so now I have this kind of stencil, if you like, and I'm going to stick that over a piece of white cardstock, which is exactly what you've just seen me do there. So I've just stuck that literally over the top of a piece of white, and secured it with some tape on the sides, and now I'm going through and adding foam pads to each of the spaces or the apertures that have been left there. And now what I'm going to do, once I've pulled all the backs off of those foam pads, is to stick every piece from the cut file that's currently left on the mat back onto through the stencil and onto the white cardstock. Okay, so that's all the backs off of the foam pads, and now I'm going to stick through all of those pieces from the circle directly onto those foam pads through the stencil. So you can see that I've got a guide from the stencil that's been created effectively, and I can easily get those back in the right holes. There was one hole there that didn't cut properly, but I plan to therefore put my photo there, so that will cover up that small mistake that happened. My machine just skipped a tiny bit on the last bit and has left a little piece that's not quite worked properly. But I say, no problem. Never any mistakes. Hey, only opportunities to do things slightly differently. So that's exactly where my photo will go. So now I'm just removing the stencil from the background, and I'm going to get rid of that bit there. But you can see here, I'm just pulling it off carefully, trying not to dislodge any of the pieces I've just stuck through. And there is my fantastic background. So even though it's quite a bit of effort, doesn't that look absolutely awesome? I love it. I'm just trimming it now so that it's 11.5 inches square instead of 12, and I'm going to back that onto a piece of pattern paper. Okay, so I'm using the Wild Heart collection by Create Paper, and I'm just going through there to figure out which one would look the best behind my cardstock. I do love to have a border around my layouts, and I love this one, the green pattern on the other side, but it had all those fabulous sunglasses, so I thought I'd cut around them first and see if I could preserve some of those so I can fussy cut them out for something else, another project. Okay, so I'm putting my white cardstock onto my border background that I just created there. And I say my photo is going to go down on that part of the layout because that was where my machine messed up one of the pieces when it was cutting. So that's the perfect place, obvious place for my photo to go. So now what I'm doing is I'm going through and trying to back my photo to make it stand out a little bit, pop against the very busy, colourful background. And I'm using the ephemera and seeing which pieces will work behind the photo as well. I do like to have a lovely cluster or a good paper stack or embellishment stack behind my photo, and to have things poking out from behind it. So that's coming together quite nicely. I wanted to use that wee click perspective there, the acrylic shape in the black. It really shows up well against that yellow and the pink. It's a nice, nice phrase. We click. It was my husband and me on a date night, which we rarely get because we have 2 children and we have another one on the way at the moment. So rarely do we get to go out on our own and enjoy a date night out. And obviously we're very much in love, of course. So it was really nice to have that wee click. It was just perfect for a photo of me and him. So I'm pretty much there with my photo stack cluster there. I'm going to get all that stuck together and I just love to keep building up embellishments, going through the Wild Heart stuff to see what will work, bringing a pop of gold there to make everything pop up nicely. I'm attempting colour on colour, although failing quite miserably. With the arrows going round, I've got a dark green arrow at the top where it's dark green, and I've got a lighter green arrow on the left where it's lighter green, and I've got a pink and a yellow one on the other places too. So and say attempting kind of colour on colour, but not quite. The cluster at the bottom right of my photo needed to be quite dark in order to stand out, I think it looks really great actually, and it kind of counteracts with the dark green at the other diagonal corner of the layout too. I'm just adding some little paper flowers there. I've had them in my stash for a while. I constantly have a use it or lose it pack of embellishments that I'm trying to get used up, and they are in the one that I'm working with at the moment. So the peachy colour from those paper flowers looks lovely against the pinks and peaches that I've got on the cut file. So I've just wound the stems around my paper piercing tool there and then added those, so it just gives a little bit of extra detail. Okay, so I'm just adding a few final pieces. I'm going through and adding some sequins because I love sequins. I add them to almost every layout. The Spiegelmum Scraps sequins are my favourite ones, and they are now available in the Shimmerz store. So that's completely awesome. So yeah, using up quite a few of those. They're going to go around by the little triangle arrows that I've got going around the cut file. Extend those out a bit, those clusters out a bit with those sequins, and a few around my photo as well, of course. I love sequins. They give a little bit of extra sparkle, the little details, and the Spiegel Mum scraps ones are so perfect because they have lots of different sizes in each pack. I'm just adding the word perfect from the Wild Heart Thickers pack there, a bit of extra glitter, and that word perfect has just gone perfectly on that piece from the cut file. And I'm just going to finish off with a small amount of journaling. I normally handwrite in my journaling. I have my favourite grey fine liner pen that I use most of the time, so I'm just using that here. And that is my layout done. I'm going to call that finished. Thank you so very much for watching me today. I will list all the products below, and thank you so much for joining me. That was Niki Rowland for Shimmerz Paints.